You're the perfect blend of elegance and style, and your ride should be no different. The 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid meets all your needs, from business to brunch and everywhere in between. With head-turning details like a sleek front end, plus stylish interior and an available 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster and seamless tech integration. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more about the new 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid.
The number one selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Get ready for Netflix's gripping new medical drama, Pulse. Set in a cutting-edge Miami trauma center, third-year resident Dr. Danny Sims is unexpectedly thrust into a promotion when beloved chief resident Dr. Xander Phillips gets suspended. Then, with the emotional and physical stakes at their highest, a storm will push the hospital and its residents to their limits. Witness how life can change in a heartbeat when you're operating under pressure. Watch Pulse April 3rd, only on Netflix.
Welcome to another episode of Anxious Black Belt. Usually on Tuesdays, I share my thoughts on subjects. It's a solo episode. This week, we're going to do it a little bit different. I've got Mary Stevens with me here. We're going to have a chat about our recent cancellation of our projects. This is in area of a charitable work when we're donating our time and trying to support communities. And we both had on the same week our project cancelled. So we're going to explore our emotions and feelings about that subject. Thank you to everybody for your support. We are 5,000 subscribers now. If you would like to subscribe, you enjoy the podcast, you enjoy the clips on the martial arts, kata, bunkais, and so on, consider joining as a paid member on YouTube. If you are listening on Spotify, consider becoming a Patreon, where you're going to get access to a extra footage from the seminars, extra clips from me about the applications and so on, plus adverts-free episodes of this podcast that you can access earlier. It's on Wednesday, so we got a few days to listen before anybody else. Hello, I'm your host, Les Bubka. Welcome to Anxious Black Belt, a podcast that focuses on karate, mental health, and everything in between. If you enjoy our content and would like to support us, best way to do that is to listen to another episode, share with your friends, and leave us a review. All this stuff helps the mysterious algorithm to introduce our podcast to new audience. Thank you for joining me, and let's listen to the episode. Hi Mary, welcome to the show again. It's a Tuesday. I usually do that solo, but as we both had the unpleasant news and cancellation of our projects, I thought that it'd be nice to talk to you and share our experiences and feelings towards the subject. Although I feel more for you because I think your project was much bigger, reaching out, and you had a more exciting travel.
Well, maybe, but I think also because that was a project that I was going to be leaving as project manager anyway, so it meant that things didn't go. It wasn't exactly the ending that we had planned, but we were looking for ways of managing to sustain the project, and all of these things just meant that was then no longer on the table. So in that sense, maybe less frustrating than yours. I can see how yours. I was listening to your pod from the other day when everything went wrong, and I can really sympathise with that. That really sucks. For me, one of the things that was in common between the two things is when you're collaborating with other organisations whose goals don't exactly align with your own. Would that seem to be true from your experience?
Yeah. It's my experience is that when the charity starts, and I hope that's not going to happen to us, our CIC, that when you're becoming so big that you have to worry about your employees and money coming in, then you're losing that focus on helping people.
Yeah, that's true of a lot of these things, isn't it? I mean, many of us in martial arts remain small businesses because then we have a better management of the product itself. And once you start to get beyond that, and you're employing instructors, then you don't duplicate yourself. That's the penalty of small businesses, isn't it? And I'm sure the same is true, that it's keeping a focus on what's truly important for you with Karate for Mental Health. That's potentially going to be a challenge for you. As I hope that it will expand, and there will be many more projects that are successful for you.
Well, we hope so as well. But can you tell us what happened with yours? Because you had a journey to India, and then you've been very quick back. And
there was this really sweet old couple sitting next to me on the plane on the way back, and they were like, "Did you have a nice time in India?" And I was just like, I do not even know where to begin with this conversation. I was just like, yeah, didn't want to say I've been here for 6 hours and kept with no food and no water and not allowed to go to the toilet. And I have no idea why I'm being sent home on the same plane, the same damn plane that I went out on. So, So obviously there were some issues it wasn't a paperwork issue. It was a personal issue. Clearly, I have ended up on a list somewhere. I actually can't say that much about it, partly because our most likely theories about why that is the case may cause issues for other people that are still there doing the work. What we do know is that we don't know. There's nothing has been said about definitively about what the problem is. And I know, as I say, I was within the terms of my visa, and this was the 8th time that I visited India. So it was not like it was something that we were expecting to happen. But as such, I haven't had any official answers at all. And I think it's quite possible that I won't get any.
I was, funny enough, one of when I heard about your case, one of Max's friends, she's Indian. Both parents are Indian, and I was talking with her dad, and he said that India at the moment is refusing a lot of charities and removing a lot of charities due to the situation in the United States and the American aid projects, and they're saying that stopping the charities distributing money to troublemakers in making less protesters within India, so they've got the easier time, and not sponsoring the terrorists, which I'm sure there are organizations who are doing that, but I don't think that a fair fight qualifies as that. But I think they're just brushing off everything, at least what he was saying.
Yes, there may well be something in that, and that is definitely along the lines of the information that we had, particularly in terms of those of us that have been potentially marked out as being people that should not be allowed to visit India. And it does seem like very likely that that's just it. I won't be able to visit India again. It's frustrating that if your visa can be annulled, that they don't tell you that the only way to find out is to go and be turned away. So, which is obviously a very unpleasant and difficult experience to go through. I think if because I'm an Irish citizen, so having a 5-year visa meant that I didn't have to reapply for my visa to go. Been many times on the same visa, So the fact that maybe had I had to apply for it and start from scratch, perhaps it would have been turned down at source, and then I wouldn't have travelled. But it's such a waste of everybody's time and resources to organise this massive visit, plan all the seminars, pay for all the tickets, all the rest of this, and then travel all the way to Delhi and then come back immediately on the same plane. That's it's not a very good system.
No, it's not. It's not. How long your project was going? Is 9 years, isn't it? Something like that. You said. I
Well,
think
I've been
it was.
involved for 7 years, but the project itself has been going on for more than that, 9 years in total. It had been running for a little while before I became involved, which was end of 2017, beginning of 2018.
Yeah, funny enough, because for me it's 8 years as well.
Oh, really cool.
In my
Wow,
project.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, so we had a project, like I said, for 8 years with the old team management, and the agreement was that we have a long-term project going. So I'm charging them a fraction of the price I usually charge, and I never put up my price, so they all been for like 8 years ago prices, which is like really fraction of it. But I really enjoyed it. Really, really nice people, and I learned a lot through that experiences, and there was no problems. And then new management came in and changes start happening, right? Because everybody needs to prove themselves. And it started with the change of the project needs to have all new names, right? You had for about 5 years karate for mental health. And then it says, oh, it needs to be a self-defense. It needs to be a meditation. It needs to be karate. Well, I understand that, right? More exciting projects you do, more money you're getting, right? If you get one project all the time, the funders get tired and you say, well, we're not going to be funding you for that. But that's where the problem lies, that you losing the people you meant to help, because the constant change for people with an anxiety is the last thing they want. And to be honest, everybody send the feedback and they just don't want to listen. So I got the email as a last person, so everybody knew they canceling it. Just saying thanks for your work, maybe in the future, but at the moment we're feeling that the project is too repetitive and going for too long, and in turn we want to, what did they say? They said we want to maybe having a break will boost attendance. Well,
Isn't it?
speaking with the people who attend, the people who come into my groups go into other groups as well. So we have an average about 14, 16 people building from zero. And one thing which really annoyed me with all of this is that we've been advertised for that all year, 8 years twice. Any mention on social media from the charity that we're doing karate. But, yoga and other stuff, constant churn of adverts. And, the people saying that they have 4 or 5 people, I've got 14, and they decided to cancel mine. So probably, my language doesn't help, because, when they said, we're planning doing constant changes, I said, this is not what people need. And I think you're doing a disservice. So obviously somebody in the office didn't like that, and it's terminated. And, it's a shame, because everybody is really upset about that. They communicated with the charity. And funny enough, one of the ladies spoke with one of the new managers, and she said, oh, Les been doing this stuff for long. And the manager jumped like angry on her. No, he didn't. She said, well, I'm training with him for 8 years. What do you mean he's not? No, he doesn't run projects really often. So okay, well, I felt it in my bones for since they took over with the changes they're implementing. I think I survived the longest. The people who've been there longer than me been let go first. And as well, it was all with the email, thank you for your work, goodbye. Which is not a very nice thing to end stuff. So hey ho. But I think they actually done me a favor, because I just applied to Sport England, and I attached anonymously, of course, emails from people who want to find something else, because that one was terminated. Nothing around us does project like me. So I'm hoping that there's going to be enough evidence that we've got a viable and successful project in the making, and we're going to get some funding. And we've got few private founders as well who promise us money, but that's for next year. We had quite a good sales with a toolkit, a mental health toolkit, which at the moment raised us a 10 weeks of training. So
Well done.
if you take
Yeah.
it with a school breaks, because we decided to do it on the terms, it takes you nearly to the half year. Combine funding from the council and private funding, so we got at least half year of the sessions. Which we're growing. We started with 2. We've got now 12 people signed, so it is okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. It sounds like you've patched together some good solutions. Because as you say, the people that are involved in that kind of thing for a long period of time, they don't want it. They don't want it to change. They don't want an endless variety of different activities. Part of the massive benefit of karate for mental health, and you don't need me to tell you this, is that reassurance of the familiar and having that stability. So yeah, it is very frustrating, but I'm glad that you've managed to put a temporary solution in place, at least while you think.
Yeah, well, we can only try, right? I'm not gonna be giving up because one of the projects is gone. I'm just gonna keep going and doing my stuff, and it seems to be the way that I need to do things my way. Every time when people come in to help, which I'm very grateful, it turns out that it doesn't work as we predicted, and I need to do it my own way, and see how it goes. So I'll be doing it the way I want and with people who I want, and it might take much longer, but we get there. I have no doubts.
Yeah, you need to have the autonomy so that you can manage the project in the best way that you can see what the people themselves need. Because it does sound like the people that are managing this have got no real idea what will actually benefit the people that they're supposed to be helping.
Yeah, exactly. But then, so why did the whole project decided to be cancelled on your end? Because I've seen Sensei Steven was posting as well that the project's gonna be terminated and hopefully reborn in a karmic way in the future.
Yeah. So yes, that's one of the project has been stagnating for a little while. It's fine when we're able to go over and push things forwards, but in our absence, a lot of stuff doesn't get done, and this is partly because, for example, the school where the girls are at, they're not particularly supportive of their karate, and they see them as second-class citizens because they're charity girls. We've tried really hard to address this, and that's so they don't support them for external activities and going to competitions and that kind of stuff, which is really important for them. As you know full well, competition karate is not my main thing, but for these girls, it's been really important, and it's added a lot of adventure and prestige, and all of that kind of stuff has been taken away. And then other organizations that we've worked with, it can be really difficult at this distance to get things to run consistently. And one that the organization that I work with, training self-defense instructors, that's been really good, but that's very much something that I've done as part of Fair Fight, but very bespoke for those particular people. So if I don't go, then for now that's more of a problem. And for all of us now, it's quite likely that any Fair Fight team might not be allowed into India because of the connections to each other. And so consequently, we have to feel that, as you say, it's quite a hostile place, even for organizations like ourselves that are very community-based, and we come alongside, we come in by invitation. We're not, going in and trying to interfere. Still, there's quite a stigma in Indian society that's, considered to be white interference, which I completely understand given the history. But there's, with the rise of nationalism in certain areas of India, that can be, it's not particularly safe, and we can't send teams where it's not safe.
For sure. So changing the kind of outlook, because we are very sad about it, but what was the positive highlight for you, and what did you learn from the project?
Oh, wow. Do you know, it's been quite a reflective week because, of everything that's happened. And I've been thinking a lot about all of that kind of thing, but not necessarily coming to any fantastic conclusions because my brain is still really, it's not the ending that we were expecting. And so kind of getting my head around that isn't that simple. There have been some, from the human point of view, the connections with the karate students over 7 years, the physical, when you're training physically with people, you bond with them. And that's always with those girls particularly. There's the dancing, there's the playing cards, there's the painting nails and doing hair and all of the bonding things, and all of these things that we've spent a lot of time together, and watching them, supporting them through sparring, through competition, all of these emotional experiences, and watching them grow up from little children of 6, 7, 8 years old to the teenage girls that they are today. That's a really powerful thing to be part of. So I would say that's probably quite important, really. Then, other things you think, working with self-defense instructors who are out there all the time training thousands of women. So even if they learn 1 or 2 useful things from me, that ripple effect going across the whole province, that's something that maybe if they want to learn things through working with us, that they can then pass on. They'll pass that on to a lot of people. And then you do think that the work that you do has impact. And for me, it was starting out with Fair Fight that made me realize what a gap there was between karate and self-defense, and what sent me down that course of study that, started with Jamie and then took me to so many different places all over the world, and really studying with some fantastic people to try and really be able to deliver what's the best way for vulnerable people to keep themselves safe in difficult situations, which isn't obviously, spoiler alert, it's not necessarily karate in that particular context. But so that's, for me, in terms of my professional development, that's been immense. Trying to learn a different language, that's humbling, because I used to think that I was quite good at languages until I started trying to learn Hindi and realized that I wasn't. And, all of these things are, I wouldn't change it, of course. I would never change it. But it's 7 years in the time that I have now. That was, I'm 53 and a half now. And I have to really concentrate on trying to make my business at home work. We've been through COVID. We've got so many, it's not the same. I don't have the same life now that I had when I started with Fair Fight. And I have to be grown up about that. So.
For sure, everything changes, right? Everything evolves. And one certain thing is that there will be change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me as well, the building the communities, I made really great friends in there, and we stuck together, and there's a core group of people who follow me and take me into places and take me into the world of disability, and working with people with different needs and learning how to see the world through their eyes, and kind of cure myself from the typical mistakes of the instructors, and things that I was not aware. Well, I thought I've got everything sussed, but with every new session, new person coming in with different disability, you just learn new things, and simple things like communication, right? Because as you know from my book, I lost my teeth quite early, so for me, quite often talking with the hand in front was natural. When you've got people who liberate, it's very very poor communication skills. so and actually turning into being a good listener. And I think this is one of the things that I can translate into the podcasting. Is the one of the feedbacks I've got from people that is like, wow, your guests are feeling very free to talk and explain stuff and stuff, because I just sit there and listen, right? I hear a lot of podcasts where people like to listen to their words, and I think one of my friends said that the radio people are people who like to listen to themselves, like DJs and stuff like that. And I think this is very prominent for a podcast as well. I hate my voice, still I don't like it, but because I can listen somewhat better through that project, I think that's why people enjoy and are drawn to my podcast, because I can allow people to express themselves and they feel comfortable. And I think that's the skills I learned from that project, dealing with people with different disabilities, and just have to be always putting my word in, because it's not always appropriate. It's like, oh, how are you today? Oh, I'm not great. You cannot just say, I'll be fine, because for some people it won't be fine, right? So this was kind of a huge clash of habits, I would suppose, or responses that we conditioned to do. If you ask me how are you, the expected answer is fine, right?
Yeah.
And when something destroyed that world, saying, oh, actually no, I'm suicidal, or I've got the life sentence, it's just it changing perspective, right? So I really enjoy that part of the project.
Yeah. When people go off script, and then you're like, oh damn, I actually have to think, and I have to engage, and I have to challenge. And like you say, and like too often people don't understand their own privilege at all, and that's something that you're constantly reminded of, that we might, you have people that, oh, why don't you just do this, or why don't you just do that? And it's like, you have no idea what that person's experience. The people who are chronically ill, they have way more understanding of their illness and capabilities than we ever could. So we have to listen to them and their experience. And the number of people that feel qualified to give plenty of free advice on things that they really don't know anything about is quite spectacular. And projects that help you learn and recognize we're all guilty of it, of course. And we just keep catching ourselves out with our assumptions.
It's the old truth. You don't know what you don't know, right? If you've never been in that environment, I never been with disabled people. Before moving to UK, before meeting my wife, her father had been in an accident when he was 18. He had no use of his right arm. So, my wife got a different understanding of it because she was raised with a disabled person. I never had a disabled person in my friends circle from school or with family. So it's kind of foreign world. So it was nice well, nice and not nice, right? You feel compassion for people who suffering like terminal illnesses and stuff like that. But compassion and being, what is the word? Feeling pity over them is the two different things, right? You don't do them any service, pitying them, and they just want to live to the fullest they can. So you need to support that and do whatever you can with the time you've got left with them.
Yeah, and respect them and learn from them as best as we can, because their insights are very, often powerful for people to help them. And then you just would hope that if you are exposed to that enough times, that you can approach people without necessarily jumping to conclusions about who people are and what they need. It's hard.
Nearly 10 years in the project, and I still catching myself sometimes going on a seminars and I see somebody and I'm thinking, well, what an idiot, right? And then you meet that person and you're thinking, I'm the idiot. I'm so judgmental. It's just unbelievable, Stop doing that. But I think that's the human nature, right? We all like to judge, and the old saying, "Don't judge the book by the cover," is very true in terms of character and people and appearance. And I should know better, because people don't want to talk to me because of my face, because I look angry all the time. So I should know better. But we are all judgmental. So.
And yet here we are, you and your Polish face. And,
But as well, there is a huge impact of projects, and I can say about your project, right? Because I met you and we talked about your work in India. My eyes been open to what are the complete differences between worlds, right? The thing that we think is really bad for women here is 100 times more in India, right? We just don't say it, we don't know it, so you don't know what you don't know. But you're thinking that, oh, we've got here huge problems, and that's not really true. I'm not saying they're not problems, and I don't
But,
want to, belittle them. But compared to what the girls in India, what you've been saying to me about different cases, it's just unimaginable. That's the word.
yeah,
For us, because we are not submerged in that culture, right? But it's nice to see that through kind of just meeting with you in the UK, my awareness can be greater of things outside because you had that experience and you've been talking about it. So that's the other side of the impact of your work, not only in India but in the wider world.
yeah, I get that, and yeah, I think that's to an extent true. One of the things that's frustrating about the project not being able to travel this time was I had really spent a lot of time designing a sexual assault prevention seminar, which was very much designed around the Indian context, where there's a lot of gang rape, there's a lot of mutilation, there's really horrendous. The likelihood of women being uh, abducted by strangers is much higher, of being raped and killed is much higher, of suffering all different types of tortures in that process is significantly higher, and those are things that I would not be teaching in a UK seminar, but in India they're front and center of those participants' minds as instructors. The fears are very real and very justified. And so, you were approaching a different type of risk assessment there. And so I was proud of the work that had gone into that particular seminar because of the previous work that I'd done with those instructors. So I knew where they were at and I knew what they were doing and I knew who they were working with. And all of this stuff was really framed around what was going to benefit them. And that's, for me, that really does feel like unfinished business, which I can't, and again, it was very much, normally I'm like sort of massive on prevention, awareness, verbal skills, all of those things. But this was really about upskilling in a very physical context, partly because of the limitations on translation and so on. So more physical stuff was planned in that, but also it's because that was in terms of what the needs of the group were. That was really important for them. So yeah, in terms of how things are different here and there, I know that a lot of people, patriarchy is very bad everywhere. Yes, it is. But it is a different environment. It's a different landscape.
Sure. I was actually my last session this Thursday with Oakleaf is the self-defense kind of workshops, and we've been discussing that. You made me aware, and as well being from Poland, made me aware that the self-defense is very based on cultural regions, let's say that
Yeah.
way. So, like you said, teaching girls in India would be completely different than teaching women in here. And for myself as well, it's completely different environment teaching for example, knife defenses in Poland and in UK. You've got
Yeah.
a long culture of stabbing, where in Poland it happens when somebody is drunk and grabs the knife in a kitchen or something like that. So I'm not saying there's no on purpose stabbing, but it's not culturally accepted so much. I think accepted is a wrong word, but you've got
No, I
long
mean the
heritage of stabbing.
expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, so it have to be varied, and you have to educate yourself. And I think one of the struggles of self-defense groups is that there's one solution to everywhere. So people from states coming and they're teaching about gun disarms and stuff like that. When in UK you don't have although it's increasing now, the many firearms, right?
Mm.
So it's all kind of depending on the environment and culture and what's going on in the same thing, and it needs to be tailored, which, like you said, you done that job in India to tailor it to the situation of what those girls going through.
Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, that's going to take me a while to sort my head out around that, I think. But such is life. We don't, things go in unexpected directions. I mean, and obviously I always believe that no work is wasted. That was very much designed for them. But Chris was helping with it. In order to memorize the drills, I made a kata from all of the drills, because I'm a karateka and that's what we do when we like to sequence things. And it's really cool. I really like it. I think I'll probably adopt it and teach it, because it's a really good way of memorizing certain set of drills if you're the disempowered person in any particular attack. So there's going to be, there's always benefits, isn't there, if you have mindset to look for them, if you're able to have the mindset to look for them, because I appreciate not everybody's in that place.
Yeah, I think that I'm a firm believer, and it always happens to me, that when one door shuts, the two other opens. So you might not see it yet, but I'm sure that you're gonna be involved in something else. But do you have anything planned to do in kind of charitable way, or where your work gonna go, what you're gonna focus on?
I need to, as I said before, try and be a grown up and make sure that I'm focusing on things that are going to pay the rent. And right now, I need to try and make sure that I make my karate school more robust. Prices of everything have gone up. Everything's much more difficult than it was. All of these things I have to try and do first. And then maybe I'll be able to look again beyond, over the fence, and see what's what. But you can't really, you have to get everything square for yourself before you can go around helping other people, right? And I was quite aware that I was enjoying I became quite an expert at doing really fantastically glamorous things for other people, and not necessarily figuring out to sit down with a budget sheet and do a marketing plan and other things that are actually quite important if your core business is a martial arts school.
Yeah, it is easy to do things for other people, help people, and lose that need for sorting yourself out. And I'm guilty of that as well. And actually, a couple of days ago, I had that thought that I need to stop, because I'm helping so many people behind the scenes, and I have no time for myself doing stuff. So I pulled the plug of a few things, and I said, sure, I can help you, but at the moment I need to do stuff for myself. And just like you, I need to pay rent and get the kids joining me for all the travels and clubs and stuff like that. So family first, and then everything else comes in. But if I can make money and help people in the same time, this is something what I'm striving for, to have those people who've got a lot of money to be on board and actually help all of us. Then it's a win-win-win situation. So
yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, it's important to get a good balance, and to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the basics, because that's something that I'm definitely guilty of. And even then, it was quite funny. So one of the side gigs that I do is I do supply teaching in secondary schools as you get danger money for that. And from my stress data from last week, the recording from my fitness apps on supply teaching compared to getting deported doesn't even compare. Getting deported was so much calmer and less stressful than spending the afternoon trying to persuade year 8 to do their music lessons. So, it's there's some lessons to be learned, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that you're gonna find a way, and you're gonna boost your school. And if you need any help, I can help you.
Of course, yeah, because helping people makes us feel good, right?
Yeah.
No, I'll be holding you accountable. I'll be like, what have you done for your business this week? And you can say, well, what have you done for your business this week? And we'll be like, yes.
Currently, this is the very popular thing. I've been learning about it other day. If you got a very difficult tasks, you are more likely doing it when you're buddying with people. So I'm in a group of CICs, and what they do, if they have a business or plans making or maybe advertising campaign, they all join in on Zoom. They don't talk to each other, but they're doing it together, and apparently it gets the job done instead of sitting on your own. And so buddying getting very popular. So if you listen to it and in the buddying, I've got a very reasonable prices. I can buddy with you, but it's only a couple of hours a day. There you go.
Well, good luck with that great new business idea. I'm sure it'll work for you.
I'm sure that another door gonna open for both of us, and we're gonna be involved in some fantastic stuff, and we're gonna be successful because we deserve it. And thank you for thank you for jumping on with very short notice and sharing your pain, and I shared my pain, and I think that talking about it out loud, it always helps to process, and hopefully we get over it and do some better stuff in the future.
Definitely. And now you get to the bit of the podcast where you say to everybody, thank you for listening to all of it. You're a superhero. And please don't forget to leave us that review.
Yep. That's the drill. Cool. Thank you, Mary. And speak to you soon.
You're very welcome.
Well done for listening to all of it. You are a superhero. Thank you very much for your support. And if you could leave us that review on a podcast platform, that would be amazing. I appreciate your time, appreciate your support, and I wish you all the best until the next one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.